You're listening to Exposure on Radio X. I'm John Kennedy, and that is Ultraísta in session. This week's artist in residence is the session version of Tin King, the recent Exposure big one, and the opening song on their new album Sister, which has just come out. And I'm very pleased to say that I've got session tracks from Ultraísta every single night this week. But before I carry on with the show, I'm going to talk to them by the power of technology on a telephone. I've got Nigel and Laura and Joey all sat round in Nigel's studio, I'm assuming.
Yes, that's right. You can hear a train going past as we speak, which is characteristic of my studio. Yes, we're sitting in the studio here, all in a row on a sofa.
Good. So just relaxing after a fashion shoot. Am I right in thinking you've just done a fashion shoot?
Well, we just did a photo shoot, yeah.
A stretch, maybe.
One of our friends who's taken our press photos before, Alex, is over, and he's here for the gig this week, so we thought we'd squeeze in a little extra shoot with him this evening. So
yeah,
that's what we've been doing.
You've got to make the most of these situations, and it seems to me that you've got to make the most of the situation for you three to be in a band together, because it seems kind of difficult because you've all got many other things going on. How did this new record and how did, in effect, the reunion of Ultraísta come about?
Well, I think the thing that has to be said is that we never really separated as such. We just sort of were busy doing other things, like you said, and we had an awful lot of material left over from last time when we made the first album, and we'd actually started doing some recording and had kind of sort of put it to the side, and I had been going back and picking through the bones of everything and putting things together slowly and telling Laura and Joey about it. And then I think after a fashion of getting, working sporadically a few times, picking it up, putting it down, picking it up, putting it down, got to a point when I think it was a group decision that we just had to push forward and finish it. So that was, maybe like a year and a half, 2 years ago. So still a long time, but basically we finished it, and this week is coming out. I can't believe it.
Well,
it really is quite a relief, actually.
It sounds great. So, how does an Ultraísta song come about? Is it led by you then, Nigel?
I think what happens is we generally create something, a piece of music that forms the beginning of a sort of basic track, and then maybe what will happen is I'll go away and find something in it and turn it into something that I'll then play to Laura, and then we'll work on melodies and, separately on lyrics and stuff, and kind of chop away at that leisurely, and then at some point we'll probably get Joey back in, because a lot of the stuff is needs augmentation or replacement, and it's kind of a really sort of weird, long-winded process. But there's nobody with a big baseball bat standing behind us, so we kind of just get to enjoy the fact that it's done for the right reasons, which is just because we enjoy doing it.
Hang out and be creative.
Yeah,
Exactly.
which is the dream, isn't it? That's what you creative types like.
Listen, this is what I always, this is what we were doing when we were little kids, in each other's bedrooms or what have you. It's just the same thing, really, isn't it? The irony of the weird kind of disassemblement of the music industry means that we just get to do, just what we always did anyway. Left to our own devices, I think we just would come, hang out with our friends and make music and have an occasional drink.
And what do you think you get to do with Ultraísta that you don't get to do with other things that you're involved in?
I think for all of us in Ultraísta, what's been an equal driving force as well as the music is the visual side of things, and I think that's always really pushed the project forward and makes it quite different to possibly other projects that we've all worked on. From the very off of the first album and continuing through this record, the putting the videos together and all the artwork and, taking our own photos and styling all our own stuff and, being very, very hands-on creatively across the board is certainly, what's quite different, I think, about this project.
Yeah, I think we sort of, we're all sort of naturally creative, but generally you do have your kind of hands tied to a certain extent when you're working in a sort of commercial situation, I don't know. And this is it's like having the rubber bands cut around your wrist, you just get to sort of stretch and yawn and just follow some kind of impulses that you always have had. That's what I felt like. Things I've always wanted to do video wise. I'm free to just go ahead and try things, and Laura's obviously got loads of ideas.
Usually
They're all got like, Laura will literally do whatever she goes along with a lot of stuff, which I'm very grateful for. So we made a film. I mean, we basically made a film that has videos for like 5 songs, and it's all integral to the whole kind of like hermetic world of the Sister album, which is based on like a sort of like a normal day in Laura's life, and follows chronologically her traveling around London on the tube and doing all these funny little things. And so we can snip out like each video that we've put out already as a part of that film, and just doing things like that. It's just so much. It's really fun. I mean, I really sort of live to do things like that. So
yeah, so fun.
And where's the best place to see those films?
Well, of course, it's good old YouTube, isn't it? I mean, at the moment we haven't put the whole thing out yet, because that's all part of our strategy, you see.
Right, but we need to keep paying attention to what's going on with Ultraísta, so we need to keep checking back with you. Yeah, you're kind of teasing us. It's very frustrating.
Such big teasers.
I mean, I think it was really exciting having the first album reissued with all those remixes and everything, and it kind of reminded us all of what was going on kind of 7-8 years ago, and it set up this new record really well. And now that you're signed to Partisan, does this mean it's a more serious, ongoing thing, or is it just for this time being?
Who knows? We've really enjoyed working with Partisan. The first record, we put it out on our own label, which we loved, having that kind of freedom, but also it did certainly have its drawbacks. But then, this time round, it feels like it's really good.
Yeah, I mean, I think the experimental nature of the first album kind of extended slightly too much, to the point of us just trying to sort of basically release it ourselves as well. And it was a weird time back then as well. It was a weird time for labels and stuff, I think. And now what happened was the Partisan came to us, actually. And we're just really, really enthusiastic and really love the record. So, that's really what you want. You just want to work with people who are just into what you're doing and understand it. And they've been great. And it's been really interesting and really, really like a joy to have that role fulfilled by an entity properly, because, there's this kind of like, where it stops. We want to do all this stuff. We just want to like fix our mind on the kind of creative stuff. We don't want to have to go beyond that. So to have somebody else pick up the kind of pieces beyond that is great.
Yeah.
And what it means, does it mean that we're career?
Gonna make another one. In another 10 years, John. Yeah. we'll hit you with the third album in another decade.
It's always worth the wait. It's always worth the wait.
Well, I hope that's a very nice thing to say. I mean, I think the thing is we really enjoy it. So what led us to kind of keep going was when we did play live, and we only played a little bit, we sort of ended up sort of having time together just playing it with our live setup, that we could make music.
That's right.
And so that was the kind of basis for a lot of these tracks. And I think if we just find ourselves in that position again, we're probably undoubtedly going to like kick out some like
leave Nigel with a load of homework.
So I mean,
hard drive.
We feel kind of pretty privileged because we've got this session that we're airing this week. So this is a rare opportunity to capture the Ultraísta magic playing together, which is really exciting. So, I mean, how does it work? How did it work for the session? Is it just the three of you playing, or do you get other people involved?
So this time round, we have an extra set of hands, a lady called Katie Dixon, who's actually a friend of mine from Goldsmith. So we've played with each other throughout the years. Kind of similar to how Joey and Nigel have played with each other throughout the years, really. She's just a friend, and so she's been helping play some of the extra, more musical kind of synth parts and string parts and all sorts.
Basically, she can actually play a keyboard, as opposed to me, who I just sort of can do it in a computer, but actually doing it live is quite difficult. So yeah, I mean, basically, I'm sort of split between bits of keyboard and bass, and then she's playing other keyboard stuff, and then Laura does a bit of keyboards and all that vocal looping and stuff. And Joey does all things percussive and explosive, and the whole thing. I mean, it's been really fun actually. It's worked out really, really well. I was very kind of, slightly nervous because it is a much more musical record. There are a lot of chords, So that presents challenges to somebody with 2 stumps for hands. But
you've done well.
Yeah. Give me one night at a time, I'm fine.
Excellent. So Katie's on all these session tracks then, and
yes.
I mean, you mentioned playing live. Do you have any plans for the future?
Well, we did sort of actually.
We did at the beginning of the week.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So,
yeah.
But beyond
funny.
that,
I mean, the whole narrative, like, we had this kind of narrative of, every time we played live, there's always been some sort of like weird natural disaster. So like it was Hurricane Sandy, or there was something else, there was an earthquake or something. And this time, of course, as soon as we just settle in, it's like COVID-19. So it's bringing us all to a halt. So I don't know. We do plan to in the future. We will probably be later in the year, though, if it happens. And maybe later November, something like that.
Yeah, but in the meantime, I'll just keep repeating this session to keep people aware that you exist and that the album's out.
Yeah, thank you.
Appreciate it.
And to hear the chemistry of you all working together. So I played the first session track. I thought it'd be a good idea to play something else from the album. And for the session, you've recorded Tin King and Anybody and Harmony and Bumblebee. So we're going to hear those songs throughout the course of this week. Which other track should I play from the record for you?
I think we all kind of want to hear Mariella. Because for us, that song, it was not an easy road to get to where Mariella ended up, but it was, went through a few different permutations, and it's ended up being one of my absolute favourite tracks on the record. Like, when I hear it, I feel like I could just like bathe in that track for whatever reason. It's really, very immersive for me. So I want to hear that one.
Fantastic. Then I will play that now. Laura, Nigel, Joey, thank you very much for recording the session tracks, chatting to me on the phone, and I look forward to the news and the films as they unfold over the next few months. Very exciting, though. And here you are. This is